Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to this installment of FYC Daily, the daily podcast of For Your Consideration. We're so glad you're able to join us. My name, of course, as always, is John Campea. I'll be your host of this particular episode on Thursday, February the 9th, I believe it is, 2012. Got a whole bunch of things to talk about today, but first I want to introduce you all to the guy who's going to be joining me today. He is the associate editor of AMC Movie News. You might know him online as El Guapo. He is George Roush. George, how you doing, man?
I'm good, John. How are you?
I'm doing excellent, thank you. So you just got back from the gym?
Yeah, I did.
I did not. I've been here all morning. I have not been to the gym today. Hey, listen, guys, we've got a few things to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about Will Smith teaming up with M. Night Shyamalan. We're going to be talking a little bit about the 300 sequel. But I wanted to start with this, and I know this isn't going to be... this isn't something you're probably expecting, but I really wanted to start with this for whatever reasons that are my own. The Rock has a new movie opening up this week, and it's Journey to the Incredible, Invincible, Spectacular, Mysterious Island, I believe is the proper term for it. But it got me. Now, I'll be honest with you. I thought The Rock was done with doing family films. I thought that was behind him, but apparently he's still doing them. After he did Tooth Fairy, and he did the one about what was the one, George, that he did where he was the football player?
The Game Plan?
The Game Plan. Thank you. I thought that the days of The Rock's family films were behind him, but here along comes The Journey 2, and he's doing it, back on board with that stuff. But it got me to thinking just a little bit about the career of The Rock, because this dude has surprisingly put together one hell of a nice little career, accumulating, of course, this past year with Fast Five. Now, before I throw it open for discussion and we start talking about The Rock and his career and things like that, I just want to remind you guys, if you're watching this, wherever you're watching this from, you can jump into the chat and chat with us. I'll bring up the chat board right now, actually. You can jump in and chat with us. DJ Cincy is saying Faster wasn't a horrible movie. Well, we'll talk about that, too, in a second. But you can jump into the chat, and here's where you find the chat board. You can go to our Facebook page, which is at... I'll bring that up too, on facebook.com/FYC podcast. You go to our Facebook page and go to FYC podcast. And when you're there, there's a link in the side where you'll see the show, but there's a link in the sidebar there that says You Stream Live. Click on that and you'll see the show and you'll see the chat board. Just click on the chat tab. You can jump in and start talking with us. And the reason that's kind of important is because... you can also not only chat with other people who are watching the show right now, but you can actually ask questions, make comments, or bring up topics that you would like George and I to talk about today. And once we get to the second half of the show here in about 20 minutes, we're just going to spend the rest of the show taking your questions and talking to you about it. So make sure you jump into the chat board and join us there. That being said... somebody brought up Faster, and I'm going to start with Faster before we go to the origins of The Rock here, George, because I know you're a big fan of Fast 5. But yeah, before Fast 5, there was Faster, which seemed like an odd choice of roles for him, considering within the year of Faster, a film where he's driving a big muscle car, he was also going to be in Fast 5. But I'll tell you right now, I really liked Faster. I thought it had its weaknesses. It was a very limited film. It was a very one-dimensional film. But personally, I liked Faster a lot. I don't know what you thought about it.
No, I thought it was great. In fact, I visited the set for that while they were shooting, and even though we didn't get to see much, it looked like a movie that The Rock was really into, and it was something that he was going to really enjoy shooting. And I thought it was a great movie. I didn't dig the ending, but I thought it was great. I enjoy anything where The Rock goes back to just kicking butt on screen.
He's good at that. He's really good at that.
He's very good at that.
And, you know, the thing is, I was a little skeptical about The Rock when he was making his way into film. I mean, obviously, his first one was a WWE film, Scorpion King, which was like, whatever. But, I've always had this thing where
It was awesome. What are you talking about?
Oh, come on. I don't like the in general, I don't like the idea of non-actors. I've always talked about this. I don't like the idea of non-actors getting right out of the chute, getting a leading roles in Hollywood films, when you've got people who have been training their whole lives to be actors and performers, who put in the work, dedicate their lives to it, and would be 1,000 times better than, those celebrities who don't happen to be actors. I prefer guys who like Marky Mark and his Funky Bunch, who, he starts with smaller things and he works his way up, and he gets an acting coach for a couple of years first. And
well,
puts
but guys have done that though. I mean,
of
you
course
look at
they
Ice
have.
Cube, who's a good actor. Timberlake, who I can't stand, but he's still a decent actor.
No, he's not.
So
He's not. No, he's not. Justin Timberlake is not a decent actor. He's not.
He's okay. He's okay. I mean, I've seen a lot worse. He can do comedy pretty good.
I'll give him. Well, he can do live. Situational comedy. Like, I remember when he was in that Mike Myers movie. What was it? The Love Guru? Oh, my
Love Guru.
God, he was,
it was terrible.
Well, I mean, everything. It's hard to hold that one against Timberlake because everything about that movie was so bad. But if you look at The Social Network, that was the first movie I ever looked at with Timberlake in it and said, okay, granted, it was a very one-note character. He really didn't, there wasn't a lot of acting involved. He just had to be this one note. And I said, you know what? Timberlake didn't blow it. He didn't blow it. That is the highest praise I've ever given Justin Timberlake in a film. I look at it and say, you know what? He didn't blow that. He did okay. But in everything else he did, now I'll balance that. I don't know why we're getting off on why I'm taking us on this Justin Timberlake sidetrack, but
I don't know.
I will say this, and I've said this repeatedly. I think Timberlake is a damn talented man in many, many ways. Like, I personally, and this is saying a lot, I think he is the best host Saturday Night Live has ever had. And that's, you think about all the history of hosts on Saturday Night Live, I think he's terrific in that environment. I think he's awesome. I think he's got an incredible personality. He's very engaging. I'm sure you've interviewed him too. He's really great one-on-one. I love the guy, but I think he's a horrible actor. I think he's just terrible. And I think he's a good example of guys who, just because they're famous, think they can make the move to acting, and it doesn't necessarily work. But anyway, let's get back to The Rock.
Back to The Rock.
Back to The Rock. But here's the genius, I think, of The Rock and the way he's handled his career and the way he does what he does. He found where that area that he fits. He is hyper charismatic. He exudes masculinity. He's great with action. And it's like he is very specifically, except from time to time when they fit him into a family film, when they can play off those things in a family style, he has kept his career within that lane, and I think has been incredibly successful because of it. You look at like movies like The Rundown, which I love. You look at then you fast forward now to the end of his career so far. Well, with the end in terms of where we're at, to Fast Five, he stays within that realm and has found great success in it, and I think is awesome in it. And I think the genius of The Rock's career has been him finding his area and sticking within it. That's my thought. What do you think about it?
His big thing, and everybody is always talking about, we want The Rock to specifically just do action. But ever since, even at the start of his career, he's always wanted to be an actor. Like, he doesn't care what the role is. He wants to be an actor. So I think what happened was he started to feel stereotyped when he was doing The Rundown and Scorpion King and then, Walking Tall. And so that's why he probably, had a meeting with his agent and his team and was like, I need to branch out. I need to do other things. Disney's going to pay me a lot of money, so why not do some family films? I've already got kids that know me from wrestling, so why don't I bring in, kids that don't know me from wrestling? So I'll do some kid films. So, and he's still young enough in his career to where he can do that. And now he's starting to go back to doing action films with, he's got Fast 6 coming up. He just got done shooting Snitch in Louisiana, which he shot right after he did G.I. Joe. So I think he's doing okay with his career. I mean, yeah, we rag on him for doing those kids films, but it's actually kind of a smart business move when you think about it. Plus, he's gone back to WrestleMania so he can get the wrestling fans back again. I think he needed that. I think he was losing heat with the audience.
Agreed.
And that's why he's gone back to wrestling, so he can bring what brought him to the table in the first place, which was wrestling. So he can bring that group of people back to him, back into his fan base. He's got the whole Team Break thing going on, and so I think what he's done has just been smart business moves, and I think we're going to see I'm glad that he's doing more action. I think we're going to see a lot more action than we are family films from him.
Well, the other thing, a couple things that I think you're spot on about, the going back to wrestling, going back to the WWE, and the fact that he's going to be headlining WrestleMania again. I think that's a couple things. One, I think wrestling is in his blood. It's in his family. It goes back 3 generations, and he loves it. But the other thing that makes it a brilliant move is the fact that there is such a huge fan base in the wrestling community. The wrestling community is huge still. I mean, granted, I don't watch wrestling now like I did back in the 90s, because I used to be a big wrestling fan too back in the 90s. But the WWE and that wrestling community is still massive. There is a massive fan base there. And so to reconnect with them, there's nothing bad can come of that. As far as his family films go, I think they have been great business moves, but they still play off his huge persona, his image. They just take it from a comedic family point of view. But like, even when you look at the football one and you look at Tooth Fairy, they all play off the fact that he's this big, hulking, charismatic guy, and they play off of it. And so they've been finding ways to utilize that in family films and action films to his advantage. And I think his career has been managed beautifully. I mean, I don't know who his management team is, and I'm sure a lot of it just has to do with Dwayne Johnson's natural intelligence, but he's also got a great management team, and they've done fabulous. And then you come up to a film like Fast Five, and I know you somewhat liked that film. I think you had it in your top 5 films of 2011.
It's possible.
It's possible. I really enjoyed Fast Five. I thought it was terrific. I thought it was the best of the franchise. My one big problem with Fast Five, there is no way in hell Vin Diesel could last 30 seconds in a fight with The Rock. And I hated the fact that they had Vin Diesel win that fight. That just stuck with me so badly. It just stuck in my craw so much. But you know, what was it about The Rock in that film? What do you think The Rock brought to that franchise? What do you think The Rock brought to that film that wasn't there before?
I just think he brought more weight to it. I think that, and that script, from what I can recall, was supposed to be the script for the Brazilian Job, the sequel to the Italian Job.
Right.
And that thing had been sitting around for forever, so they just kind of retooled it for Fast Five. I think if you're able to bring in another heavyweight actor, because they don't want the Fast and Furious franchise to get stale, it's a huge moneymaker for Universal. So by bringing in The Rock, you kind of freshen things up a bit, and by bringing in Jason Statham for the 6th one, you still keep things fresh. You keep audiences engaged in wanting to go see these films. So I think that's why they brought in The Rock, you know, for Fast Five, and he's great in the role, and his role is going to continue in Fast 6 and Fast 7 if they decide to do a 7th film.
One of the JC in the chat board is saying, "I'll take The Rock over John Cena any day."
Well, yeah.
Yes, I will concur with that completely. I mean, I don't know why but why it worked for The Rock and it doesn't work for a guy like John Cena. I mean, John Cena is a hyper popular guy in the wrestling world. He's huge, larger than life, a lot of charisma, and yet his attempt at moving into the movie world, let's just say, has been less than successful.
See, I think the opposite. I think John Cena actually has a lack of charisma, which is why,
okay.
and that doesn't translate well on screen. Plus, his fan base in the WWE is kids. I mean, he's got an enormous fan base with children, which is why he's always stayed a good guy, and they haven't bothered trying to move him over into being a heel, because they're making too much money with him as a good guy, and he's not a very good actor, and it doesn't really translate well on screen. I mean, if you look at what was his last movie? It was 12 Rounds, I think.
Yeah.
And he was okay in that, but he picks bad scripts, and he's trying to branch out, but he's not as successful. He doesn't have the on-screen charisma that The Rock has, and that's the problem with a lot of the wrestlers. Is The Rock was kind of a 1 in a million when it came to working the microphone, and that was able to translate well over into movies, and it's just not working for Cena.
Loscree in the chat board right now is saying it's because John Cena has 2 facial expressions and The Rock has at least 5.
That's true.
Which is great. Which is true.
Yeah.
And
these are Cena's. Cena's are that, and then his angrier one, which is just a little bit wider. That's all Cena can seem to do.
Billy George 8 is saying in the chat board, pretty sure Cena's last movie went straight to DVD. If I'm not mistaken, hasn't
you know what? Actually, yeah, he's right. It did. It was he played the brother to
the wrestler,
this kid that wanted to be a wrestler. Yeah,
right. I can't remember the name, but Danny Glover was in that one. But correct me if I'm wrong. Hasn't every John Cena movie gone straight to DVD? Like, wasn't even the Marine sequel wasn't that didn't go straight to DVD?
He wasn't in the Marine sequel. That went to Ted DiBiase.
Oh yeah, he was in the Marine, the original Marine.
Yeah, he was in the originally. That was released theatrically.
That's
12
right.
Rounds was released theatrically. So this last one, I think, was the first one that went to DVD, and like they sold it, like it sold a ton in Walmart and stuff. So
right. Okay. Well, let's move on from the. Look, bottom line is, I love The Rock. I love seeing him in just about anything. I'm skeptical about G.I. Joe 2.
I don't know, man. I was on the set for that, and it looks pretty awesome. It looks cool. The stuff that I saw.
Oh man, I just don't like it when films. We talked about this on FYCDaily the other day, but the thing that I have a problem with G.I. Joe 2 from the outset. Remember, I haven't seen the film. The film could be awesome. I'm hoping it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
But my problem with it is it seems to have Transformers the animated movie itis. Which was, and I mentioned this in the show the other day, when you watch the Transformers the animated movie from the 80s, I remember as a kid so excited about it. I loved the Transformers. I had all the toys. I would take the toys, take the box from the toys, cut the picture out of the box, and cut on the back of the box there was a power bar showing, power, firepower, strength, speed, all these charts.
Right.
I would also cut the charts out and I would put them on my bedroom wall. Now, obviously, I didn't have a lot of girls coming into my bedroom at the time, but I'd have so my bedroom walls were just filled with these Transformers pictures with their power bars. So then the Transformers animated movie comes out, and we talked about this the other day, but in the first 5 minutes, they killed all of them. They killed all the Transformers that I had known and loved and bought all their toys and had their pictures on my wall. They wiped them all out. It was
you know the reasoning behind that, right?
Well, yeah, it was Mattel saying, "Hey, guess what, kiddies? Time to buy new toys." That's what it was.
That's exactly what it was.
And we're going to kill all these characters you love so much, including Optimus frickin' Prime. We're going to kill them all. Time to buy. It was the worst thing Mattel has ever done. And like it was about 3 years later, they realized how badly they'd screwed that up, and they brought Optimus Prime back. But anyway, that's what it feels like when I'm watching the G.I. Joe trailer. I'm like, so we sat through the entire Stephen Sommers G.I. Joe, getting to know these characters. Some people, I guess, cheering for these characters. And basically, you're telling us in the first 5 minutes, you're going to take them all out of the picture and bring in a whole new set. So it's not. It's almost like it feels more like a remake than a sequel. My other question mark on this is that, look, and this was a criticism I had of the first one too. When I want to watch a G.I. Joe movie, I don't want to watch a band of 4 guys. I want to see military. I want to see like a squad of G.I. Joes going to battle with Cobra forces. I don't want to see just another little action flick with 3 or 4 characters that are in a little group. I want to see G.I. Joe. I want to see a big scale thing. And I'm getting a small scale feel from the trailers anyway for this G.I. Joe film like I did with the last one. I hope I'm wrong, but you were on set. How do you think it's going to play out?
I think it's going to be fine. I mean, the storyline is split off where Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow are kind of doing their own thing, and then you've got the Joes on the other side trying to stop the bigger threat, and then those 2 storylines are going to merge in the 3rd act. So I think it'll be okay as far as large-scale set pieces. I mean, I'm still under embargo, so I can't really talk about what I saw on set. But
there's a great picture. I wish I had it here with me. There's a great picture online of, I believe, you and The Rock. Is there not?
No, yeah, The Rock. Okay, but
from the set of G.I. Joe. But The Rock tweeted this. The Rock tweeted it. He put it public. So this isn't secret. The Rock put this up online, didn't he?
Well, yeah, and it's funny too because we're on set. Frosty from Collider was like, "Hey, can we get a picture with you?" And The Rock is he's the coolest guy. He's like, yeah, of course, totally. So we all get up and we take the picture, and he's like, oh, this is cool. I'm going to tweet it. The Paramount people are standing there freaking out because they didn't want anything coming out from set. And so he tweets it. And I turn to the unit publicist and I'm like, is this okay? And she goes, he's The Rock. Like who's going to say no to him? You know? So pretty much the guy can just do whatever he wants. And then Paramount freaked out at first, and then they were like, "Oh no, it's okay, it's cool, you know." But it's a great picture, yeah. So he's just a cool guy, and he was having a good time on set.
Okay, well,
I saw some really cool stuff. I wish I could talk about it, but I think it'll be a lot better than what people can imagine. I think people still have a sour taste in their mouth from the 2009 Joe.
What when are you able to? When does the embargo lift, and when are you able to start talking about the set visit to G.I. Joe?
No idea.
They'll let you know.
We went to. They'll let me know, but I don't know. There's some things they shot. They shot at a location that they don't know now if they're going to be able to actually have the rights to talk about. So it's a whole thing going on with some legal issues. So I think that's why the set visit report has been delayed, because the movie comes out in June. So
yeah, it's
and I'm sure
close.
we're going to see more. Yeah, we're going to see more and find out more about it at WonderCon next month. So
all right,
it'll probably. I'm thinking the set visit report will happen before WonderCon.
Okay, let's move on to this then for now. I believe it's hard to imagine why people aren't talking about this more, but Will Smith, who I still today is probably the biggest box office draw as far. I mean, he's certainly not the most talented guy. I'm not saying he's not talented. It's just he's clearly not the most talented guy, but he is the biggest, most reliable box office draw there is in Hollywood right now. His films almost habitually make over $100 million, which is tough to do. And I thought he was, some people just say he's a great action star and not that great of an actor. Look, I defy anybody to watch Ali and tell me he's not at least an extremely good actor. I think he's got acting chops when he's in the right role. And, Pursuit of Happiness, I think, was another film that showed off his acting chops. I think when he needs to bring it, I think he can bring it. He's taken some time off, but he is right now shooting a film with, okay, he's the biggest box office star there is. He's shooting a film right now with maybe arguably the most unpopular filmmaker there is in mainstream Hollywood going right now, M. Night Shyamalan, who I affectionately refer to as the Shamhammer. But the Shamhammer is doing this film with Will Smith right now called After Earth. Originally it was supposed to be called 1000 AE, but that was, I guess the title was too close to that animated film that was out a few years ago. So they're calling the film now After Earth. And apparently it takes place 1,000 years after Earth. But Shyamalan and Will Smith have both been tweeting pictures and putting up pictures on their Facebook page from the set. Here's a picture right here, which is really kind of interesting from our friends over at Slash Film. A picture on set of Will Smith and his son Jaden Smith, and Jaden is in the film with them. Man, okay, my first impression is, holy crap, Jaden's getting big. Because
which one's Jaden?
Yeah, I know, right? Like, look at that picture. I feel like I just saw the new Karate Kid movie yesterday, and that's a different kid, man. I mean,
is that him on the left?
That's him in the black jeans.
Oh, that's him in the black jeans. Okay.
Yeah, and
wow.
He's looking more and more like his father. And aside from that, there's this other great picture. I mean, if you want to talk, maybe they're doing this on purpose, but if you look at this picture of Will Smith from set, he's got a lot of gray in his beard, a lot of gray in his hair. The way the makeup around his eyes are done is done to make him look old. This is the oldest looking Will Smith I've ever seen, but I guess the film is supposed to be, I think Jaden Smith might actually be the primary character in this film. And Will Smith is kind of the secondary character, his kind of estranged father, and they go back to Earth. Very interesting looking pictures, I gotta say. I think these pictures look pretty cool. And they're shooting, go back to the first picture here, they're shooting the film in Costa Rica. And like, how beautiful is that? I mean, look at that scenery in that infinity pool. I mean, that looks awesome. So here's a question I've got for you, George. Mm-hmm. This Will Smith with Jaden Smith film, shot in Costa Rica, it's sci-fi, all that kind of stuff. But it's being done by M. Night. I remember when Devil. What was the name? Was it just called Devil? What was it called? That film that he just produced that was just out recently last year.
Devil.
It was just called Devil, right? Not a bad little film, but I remember when the trailers first came out, and I'm not saying it deserved this. I'm not saying it not deserved this. When the first trailers for Devil came out, I remember sitting in the theater, and the trailer plays, and then it comes up from producer M. Night Shyamalan. The audience laughed. They broke out into laughter as soon as his name came up. And I mean, I don't hear that ever. I don't ever hear that. Like Shyamalan's name became such an object of stigmatism that the audience pure laughed. And I saw it in I saw the trailer play twice in two separate theaters in two separate cities, and both times the same reaction. The trailer starting is like people watching it, M. Night Shyamalan, and everybody starts laughing. Now,
well, that's because his last movie was The Happening, which is one of the worst horror movies ever made, or thriller. I don't even know. I don't know, whatever you want to call it.
Dude, it's one of the worst mainstream Hollywood films, period, ever made.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just because of The Happening. It was also because of Lady in the Water, which was mind-boggling bad. I mean,
and The Village. I thought The Village was terrible.
Yes, I got to admit, to me, I didn't mind The Village so much, but it was clearly the beginning. I thought The Village was the signal at the beginning of the descent of M. Night, because before that, I mean, you're talking Sixth Sense, you're talking Unbreakable. I even really liked Signs. I actually thought Signs was a really good movie, and I know a lot of people. Yeah, I think a lot of people agree with you on that, George. But for me, I really enjoyed it. Not so big on the last 5 or 10 minutes of the film, but right up to that point, I really enjoyed it. And then came The Village, which I remember I was doing a podcast a month before the movie came out, and I was doing a podcast. And I said, I'll bet you anything, after watching the trailers, I'll bet you anything the end of this movie, they're going to find out that it's actually modern day and they're in some kind of compound. And sure enough, that's what it was. And the film just wasn't very good. Clearly, M. Night has genius in him. One film you can luck out on. But he's got a number of films that are at least very good. Then he's got the last bunch of films that have been very bad. Why do you think Will Smith, at this point in Shamhammer's career, why do you think Will Smith agreed to jump on board on a film project? Being the biggest box office draw in Hollywood, why do you think he decided and agreed to do a film with M. Night Shyamalan?
Because M. Night's probably a very charismatic guy, and he talked to Will Smith and told him the idea and what he wanted to do. I think M. Night, he is a talented director. Just the stories that he picks are just so terrible. I don't actually have a lot of faith in this. I don't care if Will Smith is in it, and I don't care that he's cramming his son down our throats. I don't know how this is going to turn out. It's now a coin flip with M. Night. I mean, studios have started to lose their faith in him. So we'll see. I mean, if he's able to turn this into a really good film, I think it's good. I think his credibility in Hollywood will jump back up, and if he does actually start to work on an Unbreakable sequel, which I thought was his best film, was Unbreakable. So if he starts to work on a sequel to that, I think he'll get back into the good graces of everybody, because The Last Airbender, I still have no idea what was going on in that movie. It was 90 minutes of me scratching my head. I had no clue what was going on because I'd never seen the anime. And you can't make a film like that. You have to make it accessible to people that have never seen the show. And he didn't do that. And it was, like I said, sour taste in people's mouths still.
It's funny that you bring up The Last Airbender, because just as you said that, TMN Shopnet actually mentioned in the chat board, said, don't forget Last Airbender. Ouch, have you forgot that one already? It's funny. There are things about The Last Airbender that are quite good.
Yeah, the credits. I like the credits.
The credits were all spelt correctly. The film seemed to be in focus. But I'll admit it, and I'm gonna look. I really did not like The Last Airbender, but I'm right now. I'm putting on my positive hat. I thought when there was action, I liked the kid. I thought the action in it and the martial arts in it, and I thought some of the visual effects, some of them were very well done, and some of the action was very well done. I thought
Yeah.
there was some potential there with the story of the evil king and his son. I thought there was some interesting story potential. Potential is the word. Potential there. But man, I'm telling you, that movie lost me right at the point. It was early in the film when you got the girl and her older brother, Rathbone. What's Rathbone's first name? From the Twilight films. I can't remember. If you guys remember Rathbone's first name, put it in the chat board, please.
You talking about Basil?
I don't remember the characters' names. Jackson Rathbone. Thank you, Buzzman.
Oh.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Comedy Fan. Yes, Jackson Rathbone.
I didn't know what you were talking about.
Yeah, he's one of the brothers in the Twilight films, and I actually kind of like him in the Twilight films. I think he's pretty good in the Twilight films, to be honest with you. But
I think I can name like 3 actors from Twilight. The rest of them, I have no idea.
right, but
Are.
when there's a scene in The Last Airbender, and this is where the movie completely lost me, where his sister is supposed to have some kind of water power, right? So
Right.
they're getting approached by evil soldiers, and she's like, I'm going to stop you. They're holding their brother. And she's like, I'm going to stop you. And she goes, the camera goes in on just her, and she does her little bending thing. And then you just hear her brother going, what was her, I think her name was Natiri. I may be wrong, but for my argument's sake, I'm going to say the character's name was Natiri. All you hear is Jackson Rathbone's voice going, Natiri, or Katara. Thank you, Anna. Katara. And the camera goes over to him, and he's the one frozen in ice instead of the bad soldiers. And you almost wanted to hear like a 1920s horn thing, wah, 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 when after he does that, and a little drum hit,
Yeah.
boom, boom. And at that moment, I went, I'm tuned out. From here on out, I am tuned out of the rest of this movie, because if anybody thought that was a good idea to put on screen, you lost me. I'm gone. And so that's the point where I lost that movie. But I'll tell you. But here's the thing, though. This is my point. I actually have great hope for After Earth, and here's why. And I think you alluded to this a little bit, George. You got Will Smith, who could do whatever he wants. Smith could do whatever he wants. He's a guaranteed box office draw. He can do any project he wants. Any studio will line up and greenlight anything he wants to do. Well, within reason. For him, and he could work with any filmmaker in the world that he wants. If you've got a project where M. Night, who right now his name is a bit of a stigmatism, but he's shown flashes of genius in the past. But if you got a filmmaker like M. Night, that project, that script, must be a hell of a script. If Will Smith is going to say, yeah, I'll do this one.
Nah, you can't say that. I mean, the guy's done the Bad Boys 2 and 7 Pounds, and I don't know if Will Smith knows what a good script is.
Look,
if it slapped him in the face.
I completely agree with you. Just because he picked something doesn't mean it's Oscar worthy. But considering how much he gets offered, there's got to be something to it. If the name M. Night Shyamalan is on the cover, and he reads it and says, and is turning down almost everything else, and says, yeah, this is something I'm going to do, it gives me some hope. It gives me some optimism. But you're not buying into that. I'm trying to be so positive. You're not buying into this.
Well, look, Billy George 8 in the chat room made a good point. He turned down Tarantino.
Which I don't think is a big deal. I think Tarantino's overrated, but anyway.
Oh, what? Oh, if I could choke you through the web camera.
Look. Tarantino to me is a better version of Shyamalan. Okay, he's a bit hit and miss because you get a film like, I'll be honest with you, I hated Inglourious Bastards the first time I saw it, and then I watched it a couple more times. I'm like, why did I hate this? This is actually pretty darn good. So I don't know what I was thinking with that. Death Proof. Horrible pile of garbage. That movie is unwatchable. It's so bad. Death
Proof just had length issues. I mean, the first half of Death Proof is the script is just too long. The car chase sequences are fantastic. I mean, that's why anybody wanted to go see it anyway. That one was a miss for me as far as that goes.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, he's had more flashes of genius as well. Don't get me wrong. I like Tarantino. I do. And I'll line up to see the next Tarantino film. But Tarantino is far, in my mind, from being a lock. Like, I don't mind the idea of somebody turning down a Tarantino film because, to me, Tarantino's films have become a little bit self-indulgent until Inglourious Bastards, which, like I said, I hated it at first. You know what? I really hated Inglourious Bastards at first, and now
That's weird.
I know. I watch it now.
So good.
I watch it now, and I still don't think it's. I don't think it deserved to be nominated for Best Picture of the Year or anything. But I watch it now, and I'm like, what? Why did I not like this the first time I saw it? I must have been in a bad mood or something that day. That's the only thing I can think of. So I can't put my finger on it. But yeah, it is interesting that this is the film that he turned down to Django with Tarantino for. So let's see what happens. I mean, I guess what you brought up about Will Smith's script picking abilities will really be put to the test here once we see both these films.
I don't have a problem with Will Smith. I mean, I don't have a problem watching him on screen. It's just that he keeps shoving his kid down our like he's putting Jaden in everything now, and I am not a fan of Jaden Smith. I'm just not. I thought he was terrible in Karate Kid. Like, I don't know how I was able to sit through that whole thing. And now they're going with the sequel. You knew that was going to happen. And I'm telling you, and I joked about this last year, he's going to put his kid in Bad Boys 3. I'm telling you, he's going to put Jaden in Bad Boys 3 as like some sort of rookie cop or something like that he's going to partner up with, or he's going to make Jaden like a bad drug dealer to give him like a tough edge or something like that. But I'm telling you, he's going to talk to Bay and have a role for Jaden in Bad Boys 3 whenever they get that going.
I'm going to tell you right now, and I know you're going to hate this. I really liked the Karate Kid remake. I thought it was great, and it was the first time I liked Jaden Smith because I thought he was terrible. What was that Keanu Reeves, The Day the Earth Stood Still? I thought Jaden Smith... That
was just a bad movie.
Well, it was a bad movie, but Jaden Smith was terrible in it. I didn't really like him. I know everybody fawns over it, but I didn't think he was that good as a child actor in Pursuit of Happiness. I've never liked him, and I was very against the idea of Will Smith buying up the rights to a beloved film like Karate Kid and putting his kid in it. All that being said, I might have liked it more than the original.
Ooh.
I know. It's a very different film. It's a very, very different movie. Nothing will ever replace Pat Morita, obviously. But I really did enjoy it. And it was the first one that I went, I thought Jaden Smith was okay. But you did hear, of course, everything that was going on with Independence Day 2, right? Like, Will Smith may not be back for Independence Day 2 because he's got like a ridiculously high salary demand. But one of the other words is that he's insisting, going back to what you were just saying, that there be a role made for his son.
Yeah,
in the film.
Well, plus
and he may not now. He may not be in it.
They also want to shoot it back to back, so that might be another thing too. But just getting back to the Karate Kid, and you saying that the remake is better than the original, and I'm not going to stay on this for too long.
I said maybe. I just said maybe. Anyway, yeah, go ahead. Make your point.
At least in the original, we understood the bad guy. We understood his motives. We understood why he was always going after, Daniel. In the remake, this is just some angry Chinese kid who just wants to beat him up. Like, you don't even know why. You don't really question. He just doesn't like him, which I guess is enough for a bully in any situation. But yeah, I don't like the remake as much as you. And
who's the co-host there? You got a co-host there walking into shot. Okay, you know what, guys? I was going to talk a little bit about. Man, I want to talk a bit about the 300 sequel news, but we'll save that for another time. Let's throw this open to you guys in the chat board. We're just take a few minutes and interact with you guys in the chat board. Tell us what you want us to talk about. DJ Cincy is saying, one more comment like that, and George has to take over this podcast. Anna BR is saying, blasphemy, Campea. So apparently, my comment of that I might have just liked the new Karate Kid film better than the first one is well, hey, look at Victor Garrity on there saying, I agree with John. Look at that. Okay, let's get to some questions here. Let's get some questions here. Billy George 8 is asking, did you guys like the new Bourne trailer? George, what did you think of the new Bourne?
I thought it was great. I like the fact that sorry, I'm just replying back to Buzzman here. He's seen 21 Jump Street tonight, and I was just wanted to let him know that 21 Jump Street is hilarious. It's so funny.
You and I saw 21 Jump Street together, actually.
Yeah, we saw it at the screening. That was the first time they
Yeah,
had screened it.
it's embargoed, but they said we could tweet reactions, so I'll simply tell you my tweet reaction because the reviews are embargoed. I can't say much, but they did say we could tweet reactions. Here's my quick reaction. I think there is a possibility this might end up being the best the best comedy of 2012. This could be the best comedy of 2012. Anyway, go ahead, George. What were you just saying?
Well, with the Bourne legacy, I like it. I mean, I think Jeremy Renner's a good actor. I like that his Bourne seems to be a much rougher Bourne than the character of Jason Bourne. I also like in a lot of the fight scenes that his fighting style seems to be more of a slower and harder hitting fighting style than Jason Bourne's. I'm hoping they have a Matt Damon cameo snuck in there in the end of it. So, but I was intrigued by the trailer. I think it looks great. I like Tony Gilroy a lot, so I think it's going to be a big hit for Universal.
Yeah, I like the trailer too. It's great for a first teaser trailer. It really doesn't give you much, which is perfect. But they set it up. The tone of the trailer is great. I really like it. Somebody who's asked about 300 is saying I thought they killed everybody in 300 except for the guy with the one eye. They still haven't committed to whether this is a prequel or something else down the line, which sounds weird to me. How can you even be almost ready to go into production and you're casting and you don't even know, you haven't committed if this is a prequel or some kind of subsequent sequel? I think they're going to go with prequel. I think the original idea for the 300 film was always to be a prequel. I think it has a lot to do with the rise of Xerxes, getting to where he was. And I'm not big on the idea of prequels, but it seems like the most logical thing. Have you heard anything different, George?
I haven't heard anything yet, but I think they're actually going to go the sequel route and have another type of army attacking Xerxes. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Also being asked on the board, is there any hope for a Muppets 2? I'm going to take. Well, actually, you can see right behind me. I loved the Muppet movie. I thought it was awesome, and the fact that the Kermit the Frog song, "Pictures in My Head," is not nominated for best song. Like, forget nominated. Easily should win the Oscar for best song in a film this year. And I don't even think it's nominated. That is a joke. But is there any hope for a Muppets 2? I think there is. I think a lot of people loved the film. It made money. It made money, but
I don't think it made the kind of money that they wanted it to make, which is why a sequel was never really greenlit right off the bat. So
right,
and I don't know if Jason Segel has actually even talked about writing a sequel.
I haven't heard him say a thing about it. The reason I think you're right, the automatic money isn't there yet. But the thing that gives me hope was I think this film got a lot better reviews and a lot better fan reaction than they're anticipating, which I think bodes well for a sequel. I think you make a sequel, I think it makes more money than this one. So that's why I think. But I think you're right, Jason. I haven't heard Jason Segel say a thing about this yet. Somebody's asking in the I think Crockpot is asking, John, I'm going to shoot my first short narrative film this summer. Do you have any advice from what you learned when you shot your film? Yes. I'll just keep this really short. Prep. Put in like 1 week of preparation for every 1 minute of film. I mean, for short narratives, that might even be longer. Just have everything down so much before you start shooting. That is the best thing I can give. Somebody's asking the board, what did you guys think of the original Independence Day? Do you think it deserves a sequel? George, your thoughts?
I thought it was okay. I mean, the reason why Independence Day has such a big following is because they did things that we hadn't seen before in film, with the giant ship coming down. And I mean, the special effects were fantastic. Let's face it, it was a special effects movie, and that's it. The story was stupid. The ending was stupid, where they upload a virus, through an Apple, through a Mac.
I know.
It was just so dumb. And I had read the book beforehand, and the book was... I didn't even really agree with the book either, but I thought, I just want to see an alien movie where the aliens win. And they're like, okay, we're done. We're going to take off. Humanity's done with. And they tried that, I think, with Battlefield Earth, and that was terrible. But the Independence Day, I'll go see a sequel. Sure, I'll be curious to see what they could possibly do with it. But the first one's all right. I'll watch the first half of it, but after the initial attack, that's when I usually turn it off because I just don't care.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the first one the first time. So actually, I think I saw it for like 4 or 5 times in theater when it first came out. This is going back a ways, obviously. I'm all for a sequel, and the director is back on board, so I'm all for it with or without Will Smith. I mean, for continuity's sake, I'd like to see Will Smith back. I'd also like to see. Why is his name eluding me? Who's his co-star in that film? Jeff Goldblum. I'd love to see Jeff Goldblum come back for that as well. So that would be cool. We've got time for just a couple of more questions. Go ahead and paste them into the board. If you already asked a question and I didn't get to it, put it in there again because the chat board is moving, so I'm losing some of the questions. Okay. Interesting question here. George, do you think Total Recall remake has to change dates? It releases the same day as The Bourne Legacy. Interesting question.
What is the release date for that? I
can't remember off the top of my head.
I can't either. Do I think it has to change dates? I think it will lose to Bourne. Will it make enough money to compete? Like as far as like a respectable thing? I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know what the release date window is around it, like a week later or a week before. But it certainly couldn't hurt it if they change dates. I don't know why anybody would want to put their action film up against another action film that's got 3 previous movies to it, and then you're doing a remake of a Schwarzenegger film. So
no, it's a terrible idea. You don't put a film on the same release date as another film that is going after the exact same audience as yours and clearly has more weight behind it. They've got to change release dates. Absolutely have to change release dates. A couple questions about TV shows and movies has come in. Somebody's asking, what do you think of the possibility of an Entourage movie? And somebody's asking about a Spartacus movie. Let me address the Spartacus one first. No, you don't do a Spartacus movie. For a couple of reasons. I mean, if you're talking about doing a Spartacus movie based on the show that's on right now, you don't do that because that show just needs too much. It's a show that needs seasons of storytelling time. I don't think you can properly catch that show in a 2-hour movie. I just don't think you can do it. Leave it alone. With an Entourage movie, I thought the last 2 seasons of Entourage were garbage. I stuck with the second last season of Entourage right till the end. But at the end of it, I said, okay, I'm done with that. And I haven't watched a single episode of the final season because they lost me. They completely lost me. But with that being said, yeah, I think a lot of people just love the characters of Entourage more than the story of Entourage. And because of that, I think there is some wisdom and some money to be made for doing, in maybe about 2 years from now, doing an Entourage film with the original cast. I'd be all for it. I'd be there to see it, and I think it can make money. George, what do you think about the Entourage idea?
I've never seen an episode of Entourage ever, but Mark Wahlberg, just because I live in this town, why do I want to see why do I want to watch on TV what I see every day, just a bunch of jerks running around? Mark Wahlberg has already talked about numerous times, because he's the producer of that show, that he wants to do an Entourage movie, hopefully sooner rather than later. So we'll see. I think it all depends on timing.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, we're way over time already. So thank you. We're approaching 50 minutes. Thank you guys so much for joining us here in FYCDaily. Don't forget, we're on every weekday at 12 noon now. We changed the time from 10 a.m. to 12 noon to help, people overseas were saying it was a little bit too early for them because they were like 3 o'clock in the morning. So they'd rather have it at 5 o'clock in the morning, which is fine with me. So we're doing it at noon. Thank you guys, everybody who's joining in the chat board. And listen, guys, don't forget, I don't have the title ready here to put down, but you can subscribe to the audio only edition. If all you want is the audio feed so you can listen in your car, I love to listen to podcasts in cars. What you're going to do is go over to my hobby site, which is at moviereviewstogo.com. We'll have all the links there for subscribing to the podcast on iTunes or any podcasting subscription. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube feed, but I'm going to put the link also right in on the FYC podcast. And once again, do not forget, like us on Facebook. That'll keep you up to date with everything we're doing with FYC Daily. And for your consideration, we're at facebook.com/FYC podcast. Make sure you like us there. And by the way, spread the word about FYC Daily. Tell your friends about it. Make sure you come back every day, jump in the chat boards and chat with us. Don't forget, you can also email me. Campea, that's Campea @gmail.com. Let us know what you think about the show, suggestions you might have, whether you like it, things you don't like about it, whatever. Let me know. I'm dying to hear about it. That would be awesome. Or topics you'd like to hear us discuss. I want to thank my good friend George Roush. George, thanks so much for joining us here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Can I plug one thing real quick?
Absolutely.
I have a Facebook page called Fast and Furious Fact a Day. And since there's no Fast and Furious movie coming out this year, I thought it would be fun to list a fact about the films, one fact each day. And so I've been doing that since January 1st. So you'll learn some new things, you'll learn some old things, but hopefully you'll be entertained by it. So each day I'll post a fact about the actors or about the films themselves. You'll find it on Facebook. It's Fast and Furious Fact a Day. So just look for that.
And folks, you can also follow George every day on Twitter at El Guapo1. You can follow George every day at El Guapo1. And don't forget, you can follow me on Twitter as well at John Campea. Again, thanks so much for following us, guys. Make sure to be back tomorrow, once again, at 12 p.m. instead of 10 a.m. Thanks again to George. Thanks again to all of you guys. Thank you so much. And until next time, bye-bye.